Hi, in this demonstration we're going to show you how to create reusable fragments and use them in Oracle Visual Builder. My name is Shai Schmelzer. We'll start by showing you how to create a fragment, set the fragment properties. Then we'll show you how simple it is to reuse a fragment in a page. We'll show you how to pass values from and to the fragment, and how you can achieve cross-fragment communication in a page by controlling the values that are passed from and to the various fragments. Let's get started. So I'm going to create a new fragment here. We're going to call this one the country selector fragment. And one of the things you can set for a fragment is basically the title. So we'll call this the country selector, and the description. And you can even change the icon. So if we do something like that, that would be our indicator. So this is just an overview of the fragment. Now you actually design the fragment. So what we're going to do here is our fragment is quite simple. It's just a select single that we're going to put here. We're going to make sure that it has the full space of the area. And then we're going to add options to it from a REST service. So this is just a REST service that gets us names of countries. So we get the name and the alpha code over here. All right, so this is all our fragment is doing. It's basically just a list of country that we can select from. Now we want to keep the selection, okay, the value in a variable. So we're going to define a variable here. So the value would go into a variable. Okay, we'll call this one the selected country. Okay. Now, one of the things is that this can be an input variable, so input parameter, so we can also pass a value into our select. So now we're going to design a new page. Let's go to our main flow, and we're going to use our horizontal fold out layout to create a new page. We'll call it the AMP update page, for example. Okay, so we based our page on a Redwood template. We're going to make it the default page for our page flow, and we're going to edit this page. So in this page, the first thing we want to do is show you information about an employee and allow you to update it. So we're going to take the employee, drag and drop it into the first panel, create an edit form, select the fields we want to use, and then update our employee ID. We're for now going to just have it as a fixed value here. Usually it's going to be a variable. So initially we see information about employee 1, and we can see the country here. Now, if we want people to be able to update this country using a select list, one of the nice things is that we now have a fragment to do this. So we can look up our fragments, pick up our country selector, and drag and drop it over here to place it on the page. Now we need the country list to show us the country that the employee is currently on. So our fragment has an input variable, and we can associate this input variable with the country property of the employee. This means that our list would show us the right value. Okay. So this is one aspect here. Now I'm going to use another fragment that we created, country info. I'm going to drop it into the second part of the page. And again, this one has an input variable already set up, so we're going to map it also to the same employee country over here. Okay. Now, one of the nice things is that if I go over now and I update the country here, it's going to update the country both here in the list and over here on the right side, because we have the page driving an input parameter into both lists. However, one thing that currently won't work is if I select something in my fragment, like another country, it's not going to update the page level variable or the other fragment. So to communicate that way, what you need to do is go back into the country selector fragment that you have, and the variable that you get as an input variable over here, there's a little checkbox that is called Writeback to container. Okay, and we're going to check this. This means that when we change the value in the fragment, it's going to write it back to the containing page. Okay, so our containing page is this page over here. Okay, But one thing to note is that initially, the fragment that we use here, okay, this fragment, the country selector, is passing this with square brackets because initially this was a read-only variable. So you either need to switch this to curly brackets, so the update would be updated. Okay. So for example, if we do this now and switch to a different country, this now updates the value here. By the way, if you didn't have a value here and you marked it correctly and you would now choose to put the employee country, this would come in with the curly brackets. So you're all set up. Okay. Now, the nice thing to note is that when I select a different country here in my list, it's going to update not just this I am containing page, but because it's updating a parameter or a variable at the page that also influences the other fragment is also impacted from this fragment. So what we created here is a situation where we have an update in a fragment propagating an update to the page, and the page propagating an update to the other fragment. So this is how you can use two fragments in one page, have them communicate, and have a fragment drive values back to the containing page.